Behavior is part of veterinary medicine, and we tend to push it aside for three different reasons. The first one is because we think we don't have time to do behavior. We think we don't have the skills to do behavior. And we also think it takes so much time that it's not profitable. We don't have time to do it, and we should do more medicine and more testing and all of that. But behavior is medicine, and this is what I would like you to take home today. So let's start with, we're going to talk today about feline interstitial cystitis, but we're going to look only at the behavioral side of this condition. So first, I would like to answer 5 different questions. So all of those questions are very important for you to understand the main concept and the concept that I would like to present you today. So what is exactly FIC? This is the first question. Actually, FIC is some sort of an exclusive diagnosis. So when you don't have any other diagnosis, when you do all your thorough diagnostic evaluation, you don't find any causes, it is what we call feline interstitial cystitis. So it's an inflammation of the bladder without any evident cause for you guys as a veterinarian. There's a lot of study back now in the field. So for those who are a little more older, you probably know FIC as the FUS, feline urologic syndrome, or FLUTD, which is the feline lower urinary tract disease. These are all same thing. But what is interesting now is that we used to think that the bladder was the problem. So we had a urinary problem, and the cause was the bladder. But now we know that this is not just a bladder. We talk more about a syndrome. We call it now the Pandora syndrome because there's so many other systems that are implicated. So we talk about the bladder, the nervous system, the adrenal gland, but also all the environment and the husbandry that are surrounding those animals. So it's really a syndrome that affects many different systems. So when we have disease or syndromes that are affecting many systems like these, we never have the cause. Most of the time, if you think in humans, I'm suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. They don't know what the cause is, but it can affect my joint, but it can also affect my kidney, my liver, my skin. There's many problems that can be related to that. So when you don't know the cause, it's evident that the immune system might have an effect behind that. And if the immune system is responsible, then the stress is a big factor in the development or the appearance of this specific condition. So stress really have an important role in the feline interstitial cystitis, and we know it now since like many years. So the first study was the study from Cameron in 2004. There's so many studies now in the field that are explaining the relationship between stress and FIC. I'm not going to go through all of those studies. I'm going to go through those one this afternoon during the lab for people who are coming to the lab. So we're going to have a little bit more information. So what's the relationship between behavior and stress? You know that behavior is a change in behavior is just a symptoms, just like any other symptoms. If you have a problem with your GI system, you're going to vomit or you're going to have diarrhea. These are symptoms. If you have a problem with your skin, you're going to be itching, or you're going to be scratching, or if you have a respiratory problem, you're going to cough, sneeze. So it's the same thing for behavior. If you have a problem with your nervous system, if the stress is strong enough, then you're going to have behavior changes. And this is exactly the same thing. So this is why I think it's important for you to understand that it is a clinical sign just like any others, and it's part of medical science. Even in the same study, if we look at Buffington's study, they just figure out and they tell very clearly now that any change in behavior is a significant finding. And it probably tells you that you might have a problem with the environment. And this is where we're going to go later. So let's look at different behaviors that you can observe in your practice. So you have a cat in the consultation room. You can either observe behaviors or you can either ask questions about it. So this is actually what you're doing. You are all doing behaviors. You are talking about food intake. Who's asking, is he eating like usual? Any change in his behavior? Is he interacting with others? Always the same thing. So if we look at food intake, stress will for sure decrease food intake. What about exploration and play, which is a very important part of what they should express as behavior and emotions? It will also be decreased by stress. What about grooming? This one's a little trickier because we can have over-grooming and under-grooming, because when they are stressed, when the stress is light, then they will just decrease their regular grooming. But when the stress is chronic and very high, they can over-groom, and this becomes, at that point, a disease. What about positive interaction, which is also a species-specific needs? It will also be decreased in that situation. So the other thing is that you can ask questions, and you can also see it. If the cat is going and hide under the chair, or and is trying to avoid your handling, maybe it is this cat seems to be stressed and afraid. So vigilance and avoidance, you can ask questions about this behavior at home. Same thing for vocalizations. Cats that are overstressed will vocalize more, either during the night or when they are in the presence of the owners. Facial marking will be decreased. Why? Because they are facial marking when they are in a comfortable environment. So meaning that, when I'm doing facial marking, it's because I'm feeling comfortable, I'm feeling home, this is where I am, I like this. So they have to be comfortable to facial mark. On the opposite side, then, if they are stressed and uncomfortable, they would like to reduce their stress by urine marking. So urine marking will be increased. So these are all examples of behaviors that you can ask questions about and try to have a little bit more information to see if the environment will be adequate, or if this kind of cat might be stressed. And so also, if you have a stressed cat, the aggression behaviors might be more evident, the water intake will be decreased, and all of those problems might have an impact on the biological homeostasis, that which probably lead to a future physical disease. So what's the relationship now between environment and stress? Because I'm talking about all of those behaviors and also about environment, but the environment is very important for the cats to express normal behaviors. If there is a stress, they will not express their normal behaviors, and an inadequate environment will prevent them from expressing their behaviors, and actually an inadequate environment is a real source of stress. So there's so many studies, again, and if we look at the same study from Buffington, they just add what they call MIMO, which is a multimodal environmental and modification that will implicate many different aspects, and this is what we're going to look at later on. They figured out that they are not just improving behavioral signs or symptoms, they are also improving the situation with feline interstitial cystitis, but also respiratory problems. So you can see that if you just lower the stress, then you will lower the risk of disease, and you will contribute to the recovery of those diseases. One of the studies that is important for me and for you for this presentation is the one from Ellis, and she has an amazing paper in the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery that you can have online. And actually, she is proposing a model where you have two different kind of response in face of inadequate environment. One will be an active responder and passive responder. And all the concept that I will present today is based on this specific presentation. Why are we talking about personality? If we talk about environmental enrichment, it is very important to adapt your recommendation to the specific individual. But having recommendations for all individuals is very difficult for you guys. It has to be simple, you have to have fun, and it has to be cost effective. So you need to have this information. So if you take all of those individuals and you put them into two different groups, which will be two different personalities, then it's a lot easier to give specific recommendation that is totally adapted to that individual that is part of a specific personality. We're going to look at those personality pretty soon. So we just answered those questions. So now we know that FIC is a syndrome where you can have many other symptoms. FIC is totally related to stress. Behavior will be changed if the animals are stressed, and the environment, if it's inadequate, is a real source of stress. And if you would like to address that stress, you will have to make sure that you give recommendations that are according to the specific personality. So again, this is where we can help. So we have those events or the specific environment. And when I talk about the environment, I mean the physical aspect of the environment and also the social aspect. So meaning all of the people, all of the other animals that are living with the cat are part of its environment. So all of those things have a direct effect on stress level of the animal that will have behavioral issues and medical issues. For me, it's all together, but for the purpose of the understanding, I had to separate them. So what you can see here is that the personality will have a direct effect on what kind of stress, what kind of behavioral sign will be expressed, what kind of medical signs, because the environment will have a direct effect on the personality, and then the personality will have a direct effect on all of that, and also genetic and epigenetic, but we're not going to go there today. But what I mean is that if the stress is strong enough or the duration of the stress is longer enough, then you will have the development of a disease. If you can reduce that stress, then you will go for a recovery. Same thing for diseases, same thing for behavior. It goes all together. So where we can help is by controlling those events and controlling the environment. This is the best way we can help those cats. Does it make sense? Yeah? Are you hungry? Are you there? All right. So why is environmental enrichment a solution? What is actually environmental enrichment? When I talk about that, most of the time people are saying, oh yeah, just buy toys for your cat, and you can add shelves, and that'll be fine. That'll be fine. But I think there's a little bit more than that. So the goal of environmental enrichment is to promote all of those positive emotions. You remember all of those behaviors that I showed previously? So playing, seeking, and having social interaction is very important. Prevent negative emotions, which is rage, fear, anxiety, and panic. It is very important. This is what we want by enriching the environment. And we need to enrich the environment in a way that it will allow the expression of species-specific behaviors. So before, I just want to make sure that you are familiar with signs of stress in cat. So I will show you a first video just to make sure that you can see it. So you can see the dilated pupils. The cat is actually hiding in the trash bin. He is highly vigilant. So this is a cat in the examination room. So he's still vigilant. You can see the flick of the tail. The ears are a little swivel on the side. You can see the posture, the very low posture. The tail is low. The belly is low. He's looking for a place to hide. Highly vigilant. There will be a little bit of facial marking, which is not that bad, but in that specific situation, he's cornered. You can see the ears are swiveled. He's hissing. He's in the back of the cage, very reactive, mostly aggressive. Those are all signs that you can look at, and you will have, as a general practitioner, you have to educate your clients on what those signs are and how to detect them to make sure that we know if the cat is stressed or not at home. So what is the species-specific behavior? When we talk about domestic cat, what are their needs, actually? We have a very old study, which is from 1981, but they did an amazing study on farm cat, where they look at a very large amount of cat and look at what was the daily budget of their activity. And actually, you're not going to be surprised to figure out that they were sleeping 40% of the time, resting 23% of the time, hunting 15% of the time because it's a farm cat, so they're not fed like a domestic cat. Also grooming 15% of the time, roaming 3%, and feeding 2%. If we just convert it to a 24-hour daily budget, we can see that sleeping 9 hours, resting 5 hours, not that bad. I think if we look at our domestic cats, this is probably what they are doing. But when we go to grooming, I'm not sure that they are grooming 4 hours per day. Probably because they are not hunting or looking for food as much as the feral cats, so they have no needs for that much grooming. But if we look at hunting 4 hours, it's part of the normal species behavior, I don't think our domestic cat can express this kind of behavior. Same thing for roaming, because they are confined to a specific apartment or a little house, and feeding also. I don't know any cats that are spending 1 hour feeding. Eating at home, it's almost impossible. So you need to promote this kind of thing. So if we look at where can we help, I think we can help increase feeding time, we can help increase hunting time and roaming time. So how can we achieve that? And this is part of the model. So we can, to increase feeding time, we can use feeding strategies. I'm going to look at what feeding strategies are. For hunting, the main purpose of a hunting is being vigilant and looking for a prey. This is all sort of mental stimulation and also part of a predatory behaviors. Roaming, we will have to make sure the environment is optimized so they can explore that environment, make sure they have access to different resources, and also make sure that the social environment and their interactions are optimal. So this is what I'm proposing as a model. So the simplified approach, you will have 5 different sections in which you can improve the environment. In your examination room, if you only have time for 1 or 2, that's okay. Let's do something. Start from somewhere. Don't just do the ostrich and say, oh, I don't want to talk about behavior. So you figure out that there's a problem, at least give them 1 recommendation. So these are the 5, and we're going to adapt those 5 recommendations to 2 different personalities. So as I said, I took it from Dr. Ellis, which she proposed like the response to that environment. So she said that there is active responder and passive responder. So each of the next slides, you will see on the left side, it will be the confident cat, and on the right side, you will have the shy cat, which is the passive responder. So the active ones are more frustrated, and they are more in the action when they are facing an inadequate environment, while you have those shy cats that are more passive and inhibited in an inadequate environment. So you figure out that it's pretty easy to see the difference and give recommendations that will be totally adapted to that. So these are 2 videos, so you can see the 2 different personalities at the clinic. So you can see on the right side, again, the lower posture of the white cat looking for a place to hide. And on the left side, you have that kitty that is already exploring, playing with toys right there. You can see the body posture is totally different, more curious, ready to interact, while the white cat is trying to go back to in its kennel to look for more security. The other one is ready to play and climb and explore. So the behaviors will also be different. So the confident cats are a lot more curious compared to the shy cat, who are more nervous in specific situations. So if you look at home, what can happen? So you will have that in a specific new environment, or when they are facing a source of stress. The confident cat will keep going, exploring. He's not bothering with any disturbance in its environment. And if he is interacting with a disturbance, it's just to know a little bit more about it. They are very curious. They want to go over. When we talk about the timid cat, they're going to go away and try to avoid them, and they are more inhibited than the others. So if we look also at the different needs, and if you have something to pick up in your home message, go home message today, this is what I want you to remember. So 2 different personalities. One needs more stimulation, while the other one is needing more security. So you understand, he's more shy, so he wants to be secured. He's more active and curious, he wants to be stimulated. So this is what they need. So it's quite different. So if you just give the same recommendation for every cat, you're not going to satisfy their needs. So this is another example where you have that confident cat that needs more stimulation and interaction. So this is an example of enrichment. For the shy cat, he needs to have like place to hide to be more secure. So if we take again this 5 different approach, and let's take in one at a time. So feeding strategies, it has to be simple. There's so many tools now that we can just propose to our clients. I don't think there is any purpose of having a food bowl anymore. So it really had to be simple, and you have to make sure that the purpose to increase feeding time, you remember, and mentally stimulate our cats. So no food bowl for the curious one and the confident cats. They need stimulation, so you don't want to feed them very fast. You really want to increase feeding time by adding a device. It has to be a very difficult device. So those are the ones that I'm using, like with the devices with many difficulty levels. On the other side, if you look at the shy cat, if you use a device that will be noisy, difficult, they might not eat at all. So you really have to be cautious with those guys. So I'm more recommending to promote foraging with those cats in the environment, in a quiet environment, instead of using this kind of device. So these are, again, 2 examples. So you have on the left a very confident cat, 2 very confident cats actually living together, so they're eating with a pipolino, so they have to roll that pipolino, so the food pellets, kibbles are getting out by very small holes. So you can have big holes, small holes. It's very easy to adjust. So they can spend, just like in nature, they will spend like 10 minutes working onto that, then rest, and another 10 minutes, and then they will rest. It's just mimic what they are doing in the field when they are hunting for prey. If you look on the right side, there's food pellets, there's kibbles like distributed everywhere in the house. So the cats every day takes like 15 to 20 minutes to explore the environment, look at the previous area where it found pellets or kibbles in the past, and go for new locations. So you randomly distribute those kibbles, so it promotes the exploration, and actually it gives them the possibility to access different area in the room. So if we look at mental stimulation, we can do tricks and clicker training in cats just like we're doing in dogs. The only thing is that you also have to adapt to the confident one compared to the shy cat. The confident one you can do like very interactive. They are easy to train, very interested on that, and they catch it very rapidly. If you look at the shy cat, you have to be more patient. You have to take your time. You have to make sure if you do clicker training, they are not scared of their clicker first. They are not scared of any noises. There are no other cats or dogs or people in the room. So you have to be very careful. And this is 2 videos that are showing what I'm saying, actually. So this one from Dr. Germain, you will see that this active cat, you can have the other cat there and the dog over there, and it doesn't care about the other cats because of the training is very interesting. On the other side, and you will see that cat is doing amazing tricks like rolling on the side, giving paw, giving high fives. She's doing agility with her cats. It's amazing. And if you look on this side, you have a very bullied cat down there, and this is the passive cat over there. So she is doing what we call target training. So the cat, you see that the cat is not that comfortable as if you compare to the other one, but he's reacting and he's actually touching the target when its nose when asked, and in the presence of the other cat. The cat is in the kennel because we don't want the other cat to prevent the interaction with humans. So as I said, you really have to adapt to the two different personality, more stimulations and security on the other side. Same thing for predatory behaviors. They all need to satisfy those behaviors, but they will need different situation to do so. So just rapidly, predatory behaviors are very different from an individual to another, but if we go back to the study, they said it was between 3 to 4 hours per day, which is a lot different than what they are doing. So it's a solitary behavior, and what's important is that it's different from feeding behavior. So you can feed them, but they also have to express those behaviors that are different than feeding. This is just an example to show you that it's not associated to feeding all the time. So this cat has just catch a squirrel, but unfortunately the squirrel is dead, and she is trying to throw it away and trying to get it back to life, but actually as it's dead, it's gonna be non-interested to that prey anymore, so she's gonna just go away. That's enough. So that cat is well fed. She needed to hunt. So we need to redirect those behavior to a specific tools to prevent hunting like this. If we do not satisfy those behaviors, but this is actually what we are facing. So we have cats that might show predatory aggression in-house redirected to objects or humans. So one of the best way to satisfy this behavior needs is to let the cat have an outdoor access. But it's interesting is that you can have outdoor access, but we're going to look at it in detail, but it has to be safe for both of them. One of the things that I want you to understand about predatory behavior is that do not overstimulate those cats. Most of the times, they just go with a laser pointer. I have video of that. So the cats just turn crazy. The reactivity level just going higher and higher, and actually they are more stimulated and frustrated than enriched by this specific tool. So these are examples of tools for active cats. So if you can have tools that are bouncing, squeaking, moving randomly, they also retrieve objects very easily. So just like a dog, you can train them to fetch the ball. So this will all satisfy those behavior. And what I recommend to make sure it's not too stimulating for them is just to ask them to sit down and count before throwing the ball back or before having another play session. This is the example about the laser pointer. You will see here, there's a pellet over there. This is what I call a frustration. On this side, we have a food kibble here. So I use the pointer, then the cat can chase the red dot, and actually I'm going right to the kibble so they can have a full sequence. So meaning that they can catch the prey and eat it. And this is a real enrichment. And this is very easy to explain also to your client. So everyone can use a laser pointer while they are watching TV or whatever and say throwing a kibble while the cat is not looking at them. We can also use feeding devices to stimulate predatory behavior. And this is what we are seeing for a confident kitten on the left side. But for a more shyer kitten, then you can also use this kind of device that is not making any noises. There's no cost. They can build it on their own at home, and they can have interaction session with the cat. So they can just add one kibble at a time. So it takes a longer period of time. So we increase the feeding time. We increase the relationship with the owner. So these are all examples of feeding devices. I separate them in two different categories. First one is what I call the fisher. So these are all things that they have to take their paw to take the pellets down and take them out to eat them. And there's also what I call the hunters, where you have those devices that you can feel with kibbles, and they have to hunt and play with them to make the kibbles get out of the device and in order to eat them. So if we look at the physical environment As I said, outdoor access will be one of the best enrichment we can make for both of those cats. But you understand, what do they need? They need, the first one will need more stimulation, so outdoor access. There's birds, insects, noises, place to hide, lots of things. But all of those things that are very interesting for a confident cat might be a source of stress and for the shy cat. So if you have a shy cat that is going outside, you have to make sure it's a safe, quiet environment. So those are examples. So you have that cat that is on leash, confident cat. He's there. He doesn't need to hide. He's in an open area, no problem. But if you look at the other one, he's in a fenced area, so you can have access depending on where you live and what the climate is. Actually, you can have places where the cats are feeling home. They are not worried about all the source of stress, outside source of stress, so they can seek, look outside, look what's going on, and very stimulated. Same thing for the 3D space. So if you don't, they don't have access, an outdoor access, so you can increase what we call the vertical space in the apartment to make sure we, again, increase the security for the shy cat and increase the stimulation for the confident cat. So these are examples for this one where we can seek, look at what's going on. And you know what? One of the main problems is that, oh yeah, my cat has a tree cat. I just bought a cat tree, and where is it? Oh, it's with the litter down in the basement. And they said, this is not what they're looking for. Cats want to be where the activity is. They want to be with you guys in the living room, in the kitchen. So I love those devices because those tools can be fit anywhere. So you can have one that is more stimulated and another one that feels very secure while everything is going on underneath. So this is a video of Goldest where they are showing all of those products that I think they are brilliant because they've been made according to the real cat needs. So they can explore, they can hide there, they can play, they can rest. So everything, all the needs are satisfied in this kind of situation. So you don't have to spend lots of money either. You can also just recommend to your owner to just increase the vertical space, use cardboard, place to hide, place to explore, little tents, very easy. Just make sure that they have a place to hide and a place to seek. So the other enrichment was to have access to different resources. We're going to talk about elimination areas, water, and feeding areas. So I think these are the basic and minimal requirements for the litter pens. I think for you it's probably already known, but you really just make sure you have handouts or it's on your website, or just make sure you can give this quick information to your clients. You want to have at least one pan per cat plus one. You want at least one extra large, one open, and one with a very fine substrate, because this is what cats are usually preferring. The location, again, most of the time, how many litter pens do you have in house? Oh, we have 4. And where are they distributed? Oh, they are all 4 in the basement in the same room. So that means there's only one. So you need to have at least one per level, different location, and if it's possible, one in the living room, because this is where it happens. And you will understand why we need to have that much of a litter pen. If you have more than one cat, this is an example where you have that cat, which is the aggressor, the passive aggressor. He's just looking at the other cat, staring at the other cat, which is the victim. This one is a confident cat. This one is a shy cat. So this one wants to go to the bathroom, but this one is lying down over there. And there's no way I'm going to go down if he's still there. So as soon as that one is going away, okay, I think it's further enough. Do you think I can go down? Well, let's go down. Let's try it. Not sure. So you can imagine if this happened, always, my recommendation would be always ask for videos. When cats are coming in the clinic, ask for videos so they can bring videos. And they will always say, oh, there's nothing. You will see nothing on those videos. And we see lots of things. The owners thought that there was nothing there. Did you see that? They just look at it. Look at the big detour that she is taking. Instead of going just beside because she's too stressful and too fearful of being aggressed by that specific cat. You will see same thing for feeding areas where you will have same two cats, so they are eating at the same time in a bowl. This one is eating more rapidly, so the confident cat is eating more rapidly. This one is probably eating more rapidly than he would eat if he was on its own. And look what's going on. As soon as this one stopped, oh boy, the pressure is there. So putting like intimidation pressure, this one's going away. Look at this. Look. Body posture, threatening the other cat. So the cat needs to go away. Again, a big detour, and as soon as the cat is gone, so let's eat the rest. So what I propose that for a shy cat, I think you can feed them with a specific device in a specific room with all they need, like the little pan, the resting area, the cat tree, and everything. So that might be a solution in that situation. So let's finish with social interactions. We looked at the conspecific, so when you have more than one cat, what's interesting, you have to know that a study just said 70% of the cat owners of multi-cat household say that they are observing aggression between the two cats. 70% that only include the active aggressions, that episodes. That means that all the passive episodes that we've seen in the previous videos are not detected by the owners. I would say 99.9% of the time when you have more than one cat, there is aggression at some form of aggression. So you really have to take that in mind when you give your recommendation. So for example, the victim is most of the time is almost always the shy cat, while the aggressor is most of the time the confident cat. So if you look at those, this is again, starts with a passive aggression where they are threatening, intimidating, and finally end up to fight physically. And if you look at the other example, this is a shy cat that do not tolerate any other individual in the surrounding because he's now very reactive to any other individual. So because both cats are very, very stressed, and it is a real stress for the victim and the aggressor. So same thing for humans. We all think that cats like to be petted, but it's very interesting to see that in a study, they figured out that cats that are tolerating petting have a higher fecal cortisol level than the ones that are not letting the human touching them or petting them. Probably because they are inhibited. They just let you pet them, but they don't really like it. What they like is to being there. They don't want to be touched. They want to be close to you, maybe on your lap, but it doesn't mean they want to be pet. They want to be there. They want to see you. They want to interact with you, but not being necessarily in contact. So what I recommend is short period, respect the individuals. So this is an example where you have that cat that is lying there very comfortably licking at the owner's hand. And after a while, you can see that when the owner tried to kiss the cat had enough and said, just move away. I don't want you to be there. You're in my bubble. And we do not respect that. And that can make a snowball effect if you don't take care of that. Same thing with the cats and dogs. So most of the time people say, oh, the dog is very nice with the cat. They just want to play. Yes, he just wants to play, but at some point you have to make sure that the cat has a real life. So it has a real area where he can retrieve. He can have the choice to interact or not. So again, if it's a shy cat, he needs to be in a secure environment. And the dogs are going everywhere, so you want to make sure that you have a specific spot for your cat that is high enough that the dog cannot reach it, and also that is satisfying for the dog, for the cat itself. So this is actually the conclusion. And we're going to talk about that this afternoon in the lab. We're going to have one clinical cases that we're going to do together. So we're going to see what kind of enrichment we can make. But I want you to go home. I will go directly to the general practitioner recommendations. So I said, I think you're really able to identify those personality quickly in your room. This afternoon, we're going to look at how to do it in the clinic, but it's very easy from what you've seen this morning. You have to educate owners about personalities, a sign of stress, so they can detect it at home and make sure that we enrich the environment accordingly and give basic recommendations. Make sure you have handouts that are for all good recommendations for everyone, and just add some comments for specific recommendations for that specific cat that you will have in your consultation room. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. Hope it will be helpful.